before. It was awful because we literally just worked in Excel, created like calculations, hoped the calculations were correct, and pushed it back in the ledger. In Workday, it's going to, you're going to set up those prepaid schedules. It's going to automatically do the math for you and push that expense out.
Welcome to The Real Deal, an audio series that spotlights our customers' real day-to-day work challenges and their compelling before and after Workday stories. In this episode, we continue a previous conversation with Katie Bandy and Davey Steele, Assistant Vice Presidents for Accounting and Finance at the IAT Insurance Group, an independently owned property casualty insurance and surety carrier. Today's topic focuses on how IAT Insurance Group closes the books using Workday financials. Spoiler alert, it's been a complete game-changing experience for IAT. We'll let Katie and Davey explain. Enjoy.
This past quarter, we were completely closed within 10 business days. So that was huge for us. I would say we would be able to close quicker if we weren't waiting for, it takes about 5 business days to get all of our revenue streams in from our various policy admin systems. So that's where we're looking at how can we improve that just to speed up the close. Everything it has to do with operational journals. And when I first think of operational journals, I think of our accounts payable and our bank. We have integration with one of our banks with Workday, which is huge because we receive that file on a daily basis. Now our accountants are going in and any incoming money, they are immediately reconciling. Before, this would be done just once a month at the end of the month, and it would usually be done on like the 3rd or 4th business day after we received the bank statement. Now we receive the bank statement live in Workday. We expect all those transactions to be recorded usually the following day. If items are not recorded the following day, we have people who are actually even monitoring it. And part of that is based off of they're able to monitor it because of Workday reports, but they'll send out open items of, hey, why haven't these been recorded if the Monday from everything from the following week? That's just huge because we actually have current data. And before, we wouldn't even have seen those transactions until, like I said, about a week after the end of the month. We operated in our old ledger system during the pandemic, so we had kind of a rough version of getting approvals through emails and gathering that and such. But really, if you were to ask me how we paid our invoices and everything pre-Workday, it was very manual. It was still relying on that kind of wet signature of approval. It was paper copies of things. And above and beyond that, we had this, we had our own supplier invoice request form that, was printed out. People would handwrite what it was for. Like I said, during the pandemic, they would fill it out and say, this is what it needs to be coded to. We then had an AP clerk who would go in and type that into the system. So right there, you're already prone to error. You have multiple ways of entering a ledger account wrong. The great thing about Workday is the whole concept of spend categories. So now when somebody's requesting an invoice to be paid, they don't need to know, hey, it's ledger account 72500. They just need to know, hey, I'm paying something for technology expense. And they're able to select that spend category. There's all the accounting rules on the back end that get it to the right place. The biggest thing too is it's the input of the user. They know what they're actually paying for, whether it is a technology expense or a consulting expense. So we don't have to necessarily rely on figuring out what that's for. We spent a lot of time doing that before. As a result, one of our biggest wins, I think we went from having 3 accounts payable clerks, and now we only have one true AP clerk, and those other people have been repurposed doing other things. But it's huge. That's one of our biggest ones. That happened right away. right when we went live, we were able to go down from 3 AP clerks to 1 AP clerk just by going live on Workday. Another huge one just on depreciation. That's all now an automated journal that's able to be done. Before, that was a completely separate system. Our fixed asset system did not talk to our ledger system. So now as we're going through, if we go through the month and we do purchase an asset, that immediately flows over to our business asset accountant, who deems if we need to capitalize it or expense it right away. If it's capitalized, it's he's going to set up the schedule, like the schedules we set up in Workday. He's going to mark what it's for, and then Workday is automatically going to calculate that depreciation. So no prone to error. We know we're consistently applying those rules we set up in Workday. We really moved from quite an unsophisticated world to a sophisticated world. We would just have miscalculations everywhere before. Now Workday does those for us, so we're not spending time going back and trying to correct that.
We're doing our own accounting journal entries, these types of prepaids, depreciation, all the kind of back office type stuff. We're getting to the point where we're doing those things so quickly that we're waiting for data from our policy management system. So in old world, these things would kind of happen at the same time. We may get data from our policy management systems on day 5 or 6, and we're still doing these allocations, these prepaids, blah, 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 into day 7, 8, 9, 10. Now we're doing a lot of these things on day 1, day 2, and we're kind of waiting on our policy management system. So we've already came to the point in time where we're faster than other things, and we're kind of waiting on stuff that's out of our control. I guess just with the additional time that I have now that we have more time after all these things have been done or quicker to do. Me and a colleague in HR are actually engaging the business to help them with more analysis on budget versus actuals, give them data on headcount, on salary run rates. These are just things that they kind of had to do on their own or think about on their own, or maybe if they weren't as sophisticated, never thought about how decisions they're making on headcount or purchasing a new license for whatever, how that would impact their financials. Now we're engaging the business, trying to meet with them either monthly or quarterly to engage with them to get them more familiar with the numbers and to give them the data that we have on hand to better equip them to make the right decisions for the group and for the company. Our controller would preach about things don't roll well for the first 6 months of the year. Once we get to June and July, we're in a groove because now we've worked out all the kinks after the first several months of closes, relying on Excel, relying on manual work so much. We typically haven't closed January books ever. And February, March, April, May have been a struggle historically. February close was probably the best close we've ever done, the quickest close we've ever done. And now we're talking about setting ourselves up to close January in 2024, which we've never done before. So that's a pretty cool accomplishment. I think one of the main or awesome things about Workday, which is almost unquantifiable, is the day-to-day work and how easy finding an answer is to an issue or a question that's had. So in pre-Workday, we had 3 or 4 systems we worked in kind of routinely: the ledger, reporting system, planning system, imaging system. In Workday, if you find something or see something within a report that's isn't what you expected or looks off, the capability to drill into almost anything from just the object-oriented database. You can drill, you can filter, you can sort at will and drill right back into the original documentation that supports that entry. That is insane. Workday's user interface is incredibly friendly, easy to navigate. So once you're accustomed to being in this almost new iPhone type world in your finance UI. The amount of time that's saved and is just incredible. And the comfort you have with just the data in your ledger is just so easy to get at.
Our controller, and CFO have said, wow, I've never felt so confident in these numbers. Before, I would put together a reporting package for our management team, and I was just kind of hoping we'd get there by the end of the year, because actually what was in his management reporting package didn't always agree back to the ledger. Now it does. Now the management reporting package more or less is the report from Workday, which is great. One of the ways it's improved my life is I have some vacation scheduled for basically May 11th through the 15th. Statutory deadlines require all quarterly statements to be filed with the NAIC by May 15th. So my manager actually came to me and said, is that going to be possible? You're going out before the 15th. Are we going to have our filings done? And I basically said to him, yes, I'm going to have everything to you, completed my review and everything before even May 1st. I'm in no way concerned about my taking vacation now. And I think at first he was a bit surprised, but just by showing how fast we did close the month, he was able to come around to that too. What you'll find is finance people are willing to adapt. We're living out in this other technology world in our personal lives. And once you empower that in our professional lives, we're able to do so much more.